kind of amazing that he was in Walter Reed 8 days ago, and he did a rally last night that was as extraordinary as any of the rallies of 2016, which stunned and amazed most people. I'll play a lot of that in a minute. Just know his energy is like it never. It's remarkable. It just is remarkable. Meanwhile, Joe Biden had perhaps the worst day on the campaign trail, which I'll play for you in a second. But I want to begin with Senate Majority Leader Mitch Mcconnell, who had his one debate with Amy McGrath last night, the Democrat Bobo doll. They sent up to be against her, and she's a Marine, which she tells you a million times, and that's great. I respect her service. I'm a civilian. I always say that. But man, don't go into fight with Mitch Mcconnell unless you are prepared to actually lose. If you're doing this for the good of the party, fine, Amy McGrath, I salute you for it. But okay, here's cut 28. Mitch Mcconnell taking her apart on policy grounds.
Well, what she supported after the CARES Act was the so-called HEROES bill over in the House, $3 trillion, and which included in it, by the way, tax cuts for rich people in New York and California, health care for illegal immigrants. And by the way, that bill that she supported that they passed in the House after the CARES Act provided more money for Puerto Rico than it did for Kentucky. In spite of her best efforts, she's a national Democrat. She is in line with Schumer and Pelosi and all the rest on all of these issues.
No, she is, and she's going to vote for Chuck Schumer. Mitch Mcconnell then lays down this, cut 29.
My opponent said she's the most progressive person in Kentucky. What does that mean? That means they want to stack the Supreme Court. In other words, add numbers so they can get an outcome that they like. She wants to make the District of Columbia a state, Puerto Rico a state, get rid of the filibuster in the Senate. In short, there's not a dime's worth of difference between my opponent and all of the national Democrats that you've watched. If you give them control of the government, that's what they'll do.
Yeah, Mitch was just, that's all you need. Well, one more cut number 30, because she asked him ridiculous question after ridiculous question. Here is the last thing I'll play from Mitch last night, 30.
I'll give you a few seconds, Senator, if you want to respond to that. That was a little bit out of order in time.
You mean to her
Yes.
ridiculous comment?
Yes.
No.
All right. We'll move on.
Mitch Mcconnell. I know I'm on Louisville, Lexington, throughout the Bluegrass State. I know I got a great Kentucky audience. You have the best senator going, the guy who runs the Senate. He's the master of the Senate. He saved the Constitution 4 times. And you got to send him back because Kentucky's not stupid. But it's fun to watch anyway. Over at HughHewitt.com, I have listed links to every one of the Senate campaigns that can use your contribution. Now, if you want to be strategic, trust me on this, if you want to be strategic and you're a Republican, you go to and give money to the Senate Leadership Fund, because that's where the quarterback is. Mitch runs that. The Senate Leadership Fund deploys resources wherever they're needed. There's a counterpart on the Democratic side as well, Chuck Schumer's fund. But Republicans go to the Leadership Fund. But whether you want to support Senator Susan Collins, who I think has climbed into the lead, Senator Tom Tillis, we don't have any good polling. We saw a stupid poll yesterday that said Cal Cunningham has increased his lead since his affair was revealed. That's just stupid. That's not true. So you can put that aside. Tom Tillis in North Carolina. Lindsey Graham is going to win, but I would like him to win by 10 points just to show Democrats they can't buy seats. His opponent has raised, I think, $53 million in the last quarter. Send Lindsey some money. Doing a great job at the Senate Judiciary Committee. Send Lindsey Graham some money. Joni Ernst in Iowa is back in the lead. Senator Cory Gardner, I don't think is, but he's climbing. He's a great campaigner. There's a well of goodwill towards Cory Gardner out there. He's been one of Colorado's most relentless advocates. He helped pass the Great American Outdoors Act. And Senator Martha McSally, who is within, I think, a point now. Last survey I saw, she was down by 10 3 months ago, but she eviscerated Mark Kelly in the debate. And I think 700,000 Arizona voters saw that and said, okay, I'm giving money to Martha McSally. I'm going to help her out. I think she's in good shape. And I know the president is climbing in every national poll. I talked to 2 senators yesterday who are running, both of whom are confident, both of whom are feeling a lot better this week than they did last week when the president was in the hospital. The numbers were tanking. And since he's gotten out, every day it's gotten better. They do overnight polling, and they don't get it wrong. They can't afford to get it wrong. Overnight polling, daily increases for the president and them since he got out of the hospital. That is key. Now, Joe Biden, on the other hand, had the worst day ever yesterday. First of all, the memory problem, cut number 1.
If you may remember, I got in trouble when we were running against the senator who was a Mormon, the governor, okay? And I took him on.
The senator who was a Mormon, the governor. He can't remember Mitt Romney's name. Really? He can't remember Mitt Romney's name. Cut number 2, he gets what he's running for wrong.
You know, we have to come together. That's why I'm running. I'm running as a proud Democrat for the Senate.
You know, he's not running as a proud Democrat for the Senate. He also told a joke last night. Well, I'll play it for you. This is Joe Biden in Cincinnati yesterday, cut number 8.
You know, there's an old joke a long time ago, a particular senator said to me, this was back when I was much younger, I was in my second term, running for my second term. He said, Joe, I'll come to Delaware for you and campaign for you or against you, whichever will help the most. My offer still holds. I hope my endorsement didn't hurt you. And but all kidding aside.
Okay, that's not very funny. It's an old joke, but here's how he told it in 2012. It's only 8 years ago, cut number 9.
So as Jim Eastland said to me in 1978 when I was running for election, he said, he never called me Senator or Joe. He doesn't call me son. He always called me young man. And he said, young man? He said, what would Jim Eastland do for you in Delaware? And I was in a tough re-election. I said, Mr. Chairman, some places you'd help and some places you'd hurt. And he looked at me, all kidding aside, in the Senate dining room with Herman Talmadge sitting there and said, well, I'll come to Delaware and campaign for you or against you, son, whichever will help you the most.
Jim Eastland was a stone-cold racist segregationist. Stone cold. So was Talmadge. Stone-cold racist segregationist. That was in 2012. Joe Biden knows to drop his name out, but doesn't know to stop telling the joke. It just is remarkable. Joe Biden then went to Toledo. Now, this is Ohio. Ohio is Trump country. And he says this, cut number 10.
Gallup reported last week 56% of Americans said that they were better off today than they were 4 years ago, would have been under the Obama-Biden administration. So why should people who feel that they are better off today under the Trump administration vote for you?
Well, if they think that, they probably shouldn't. They think 54% of American people are better off economically today than they were in our administration. Well, their memory is not very good, quite frankly.
So first insult the voters, but then tell everyone who answered Gallup, the best polling in the group, vote for him. He said 54, but it's 56%. So he just, have a landslide against me. Then he went to Cincinnati, and he's confusing Ted Kennedy with Robert Byrd, cut number 5.
When I first got elected to the United States Senate, I was 29, I was in Washington, and interviewing for staff using Senator Kennedy's whip office. And I got a
Kennedy was not the whip. He'd been ousted by Robert Byrd 2 years earlier than that. So that's a memory issue. This one is really strange. Cut number 6 in Toledo.
I read some stories after I got the nomination that, quote, if Biden gets elected, he'll be the first non-Ivy League school graduate to get elected in I think it was 80 or 90 years. Guys, have a seat, man. You know what? Like some state school guy went to the University of Delaware. I was proud of it. Hard to get there, hard to get through.
Apparently, they didn't teach history at the University of Delaware. 7 of the past 15 presidents don't have an Ivy League attachment. President Hoover, President Truman, Ike, Johnson, Nixon, Carter, and Reagan. No Ivy League. He said 80 years. He said it. So he's just making stuff up. There are no stories out there that say that. It's just pandering. Okay, finally, this one gets me. Cut number 7.
I went to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, to the battlefield, where Abraham Lincoln told us that a house divided cannot stand.
All right, that offends me. It doesn't offend me. I just chuckle. Lincoln did not say that at Gettysburg. The Gettysburg Address is one of the shortest presidential addresses in history. It's on the wall of the Lincoln Memorial. It says nothing about the House divided speech. The House divided speech was given in pre-Civil War Illinois. It's just Yesterday, he was a train wreck. You know what they've done today? They've called a lid on the campaign. They really can't let him out of the basement. Not for a full day. Not unless they've got the questions planted. They cannot do it. He's a train wreck. We'll compare that with Donald Trump afterwards. And of course, Amy Coney Barrett killed it yesterday. So did Ben Sass. So did Josh Hawley. So did Mike Crapo. We'll play it all for you.